Last week I asked you to send me a load of questions, anything you wanted to know about me, nothing was out of bounds. So I'm going to respond to them all today. I'm using my phone to record this, so I've got my notepad. I've been really organised and made a little list of your questions. There were quite a few that were similar, so I've just grouped them down to kind of 9 or 10 in total. So yeah, let's get cracking. First one, nice and easy. How's it going? It's going good, thank you. Excited to do my first video. Feel like it's been a long time coming. Yeah, cool. Next question. They get a little bit more intense at this point, I should mention, in a good way. Where would you like to see yourself, Plastic Patrol, and its results in 10 years' time? I like that one. So where would I like to see myself in 10 years? Do you know what? I'd really like an allotment. About a year ago, I called up, I think maybe 4 or 5 places and put my name down for a plot. Still waiting to hear back. Called up one of them and asked him if there was an update, and he asked me how long a piece of string was. So I don't think I made a very good friend there. But yeah, I'd love to live off the land. I'd love to be completely self-sufficient. I'd love to grow my own fruit and vegetables. And it doesn't feel like it's going to be a reality anytime soon. So fingers crossed in the next 10 years, something might change. I might get that little plot. What I'd like to see for Plastic Patrol. In an ideal world, in 10 years, Plastic Patrol would no longer exist. But unfortunately, I don't think that's the case. I think we're always going to struggle with litter and pollution. I think Plastic Patrol will just evolve as the problem evolves, and some stuff we're working on now revolves around tracking litter and creating a system that forces transparency and accountability on industry and manufacturers. So we're moving into a slightly more sophisticated way of data collection. We've just released our first impact report. If you haven't seen it, you can look on the Plastic Patrol website and download it from there. It gives you lots of insight into the types of rubbish that we've been finding, the brands that we're finding, the locations that are sort of most prolific. So yeah, we're doing lots and lots of research, and I think that's probably in 10 years' time the route we'll be going down. And obviously the results I'd like to see from that will be using the information that we're gathering and the data that we've got to enforce change at industry and government level. So, you know, we're going in the right direction. It all takes time, unfortunately. So yeah, that's that one. Next question. How can we best influence people who are yet to recycle or take action against climate change? I don't think you can force anyone to change, sadly. I think you can argue till you're blue in the face, but if people don't want to listen, people won't listen. I think you have to lead by example. I think you have to show people a better way. Make changes in your life, do the best that you can do. And I think people start to look at that and think about their own habits and their own decisions and slowly start to make better ones. I also think that talking to people and trying to understand sort of the place that they sit in and why they have the beliefs that they have, and maybe challenging those with some facts in a way that, like, with the best intentions. I don't think getting into like big hefty arguments is particularly helpful either. I think it needs proper discussion to win people round. I think if people were going to jump over to sort of really thinking about the climate and taking action against it, you know, there's enough awareness out there now in this country that people would have already done that. So I think, you know, everyone has a tolerance level. You just have to find that tolerance level and hope that you can persuade them. Next question. Would it be better if plastics were made to last so they don't disintegrate and we could recycle? Plastics are made to last. They don't disintegrate, and only about 9% of them that have ever been produced have been recycled. So no, I don't think that's better, because it's what we already do and it's not working. So plastic has some good applications. It is the right material in certain scenarios, but we're using it for a lot of single-use items that effectively means used once for about 15 seconds and then thrown away. And this material isn't going anywhere, you know, it's lasting hundreds and thousands of years. In fact, we don't even know how long it lasts because we haven't existed long enough to even understand that. So I think ultimately, let's just get rid of anything single use in terms of plastic. And if we are continuing to use that material, let's make sure it exists within a circular economy. And by a circular economy, that has to be fully measurable, fully tracked and fully transparent. You know, you can say something circular, but unless you can see every step in that entire life cycle of that material, then you can't prove it, and that needs to be proved. We have to have visibility of that. When is your Hudson Challenge film ready for us to watch? I'm glad you asked, because we have been working really hard behind the scenes in the last couple of weeks to get all of the screenings around the UK in place for, I think, probably the end of March through to April. So far we've got locations like Bristol, Newcastle, London, Torquay, Birmingham and a few others confirmed. But if you are somewhere around the country and you would like a screening of the Hudson project, let me know and I'll see what I can do. I'm really excited about it as well, because obviously I filmed it quite a while ago and we've been editing away and things have been so busy, I haven't had a chance to focus on the film and share the film, and I'm so proud of it, and I'm really, like, genuinely want to show people like what the experience was and what it means to me and why I did it. So I'm really looking forward to being able to kind of take this around the country and just invite people along to be part of it. Next question. First and last gig you went to? Okay, this is a bit embarrassing. How do I say this? My first gig, makes me cringe. My first gig was Hudson. I used to be a massive Hudson fan. Like, the guys that sung Umbop. That would probably be, if I was going to go on Mastermind, I reckon that would be like my specialist subject, because I reckon I know quite a lot about them even now. Like, this stuff never leaves your brain. Yeah, I went to go and see them at the Smash Hits Poll Winners Party. There were other bands there like Steps and Blue and Five and whoever else was big at the time, but I was there just to see Hudson. That's all I cared about. And my most recent wasn't really a recent one, because I was meant to go and see a band called the Paper Kites in Nottingham in December, and sadly I had to cancel. I couldn't go, so I didn't get to see them, and I love them. But I have got tickets to go and see Kings of Leon in London on the, I don't know what day, but sometime in June. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be my next gig. Okay, next question. You've taken a lead by example approach with plastic patrol. How can we get government to do the same? I like this one. So I would say government have taken a lead by example approach in their commitment to be net zero by 2050. They are one of the first major G7 countries to do that, so that does need some recognition and acknowledgement. However, there are other commitments they put in place and they've talked about that I think we need to see far more urgency on. I'd like to see the bottle deposit system introduced before 2023. I'd like to see a ban on plastic bags, particularly from the research we've done and other research I've read where we've seen a huge increase rather than decrease in consumption of them. I'd like to see the extended producer responsibility reform put in place and genuinely created in a way that puts the onus and the responsibility and accountability of litter and excess packaging or whatever into the hands of industry, and they are taxed on excess rather than the end consumer who are taxed through things like our council tax system. So yeah, I think there's definitely priorities that I'd like to see more urgency on, and in some ways I think industry is ahead of government, and I think government should be hot on their heels, pushing them forward, making them race against time rather than the other way around. Other questions? I think there's one more. Okay, yes. Best moment of 2020 so far. I mean, where do I start? I think if I think about it, based on the day that I would like to do again in 2020, it would have to be when I went e-foiling in January in North Wales. I just loved it. It was literally the best day. And although the water was bloody freezing, I didn't want to get off the board or out of the water. I just loved it. I felt like I was flying, you know? If you don't know what e-foiling is, it's basically a little surfboard with an electric propeller on the bottom, and you have a little throttle in your hand that speeds you up, and you just fly out of the water and glide. You're like surfing, and it is just the most surreal experience. So yeah, I reckon I would want to do that day again. So that would probably be my favourite moment in 2020. Yeah. I think that's everything. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot, like I said, there was a lot of questions that were quite similar, so I just kind of drilled it down to those. But I'll do another one of these again soon. If you enjoyed this, let me know if you did, or if you've got any other questions. And yeah, that was my first Instagram TV thing, whatever they're called. I hope you enjoyed it. I did.